feel better, but the stakeholders on Samal Island feel even better kung yung pong pagpopondo, pagbabudget para sa mangrove area sa Samal Island ay may kakambal or may kapatid po itong higit na pagprotekta doon sa Paradise Reef, which is the subject of their advocacy at this point in time. Salamat din po, Mr. President, Madam Chair, doon sa note na ginawa ni Madam Chair na hindi pa by legislation deklaradong protected area ang Samal Island. Yet, siguro dapat din nating bigyan ng kahit papaanong halaga na it has been declared or as such, even if through executive action initially sa isang presidential proclamation. Ibig sabihin, yung pinakamataas na office sa executive branch kung saan ang DNR at ang DNR secretary ay ang tawag po doon, hindi lamang yung nasa ilalim noon kundi alter ego halimbawa ng presidente, ay meron na po siyang ganyang parang sense of the executive or sense of the president na mayroong katangiang or kalikasang protected area dapat itong Samal Island. It is a building block to build on it. So probably
they said,
yes, Madam Chair.
Ms. Senator, that even though it's just by executive order, they have a PAMB there already, Protected Area Management Board. But I would suggest, Ms. Senator, that you ask a congressman from that place to file a bill on that. Because from my experience, if it's just executive order, they do not listen much. It's better that it is legislated.
Yes.
Because it's against the law to destroy something that is legislated.
Yes, Madam Chair, Mr. President. Speaking of the PAMB, Mr. President, Madam Chair, documented nga po na on 8th October 2020, the Samal Island Protected Landscape and Seascape PAMB issued PAMB Resolution Number 4, Series of 2020, clearing the SIDC project for being outside the Samal Island Protected Landscape and Seascape under NAIPAS. So just to confirm po, yung mga ecosystems na apektado ng proyekto, hindi po sila saklaw ng NAIPAS o anumang marine protected area sa ngayon. Okay, thank you, Mr.
But you know, Ms. Senator, a legislated protected area is entitled to a buffer zone. So it doesn't mean that if that's the end of the protected area, you are not supposed to protect beyond that. If you will ask the Bureau, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, every protected area is entitled to a buffer zone. And you can force them to determine that so that the protected area will be better protected.
Salamat, Madam Chair, Mr. President. And also for the concern, I can clearly feel in the halos payo o gabay na binibigay ng Madam Chair. I only wish na makahabol po sa panahon itong pagdedeklara nga ng pagsakop ng Samal Island, pati yung Paradise Reef sa ilalim ng NAIPAS. Dahil alam naman po natin yung 1 inch lang ng coral kung ganong karaming dekada o taon pa kakailanganin para lang tumubo siya or ma-regenerate siya kapag negatively affected na ng isang proyekto na tayong mga tao ang gumagawa. Just for the information of everyone, Mr. President, Madam Chair, there is an MPA just off the coast of the project's takeoff point at Barangay Vicente Hizon. It's a 2.7 hectare fish sanctuary located at Zone 1, Purok Baybay, Lizada Village, Barangay Vicente Hizon, Senior, Davao City. Embodied in City Ordinance Number 375-07, otherwise known as Ordinance for the Establishment and Management of the Davao City Marine Protected Areas and Providing Funds therefore. So, paano po mare-reconcile itong proyekto dun sa MPA plan naman na mayroon ng Barangay Hizon?
From the point of view of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, if that is a marine protected area, it's still protected. So they still protect the whatever environmental destruction from any environmental destruction that a certain project will bring. So alam nila na it's a marine protected area, the DNR. So they take care of that also.
So ibig sabihin po, Madam Chair, Mr. President, kung still protected, hindi pwedeng i-reconcile yung proyekto or at least yung proyekto at that location for the take-off point. Tama po ba itong representation?
Tama po yun. Isang policy natin na pag-creation ng ACC natin dapat malayo po sa mga protected para hindi ma-destroy. Look po yung way forward natin.
In the future, they said they will make sure that any project should be at a distance from the protected area. They were not the ones during that time, but in the future, they will see to it that the protected area are protected from this kind of project.
Salamat, Madam Chair, Mr. President. That's well and good for the future, pero ngayon, andyan pa rin po yung Paradise Reef, nag-advocate pa rin yung mga stakeholders. Hindi ko pipilitin na magbigay ng sagot ngayon ng DENR kung pwede pang hindi pigilin baguhin yung plano ng proyekto. Because alam po natin, ang bawat pirasong reef ay precious at hindi po ganyang kadali ni kabilis na mapalitan.
Miss Senator, they said that portion where the project will begin is outside the protected area. They saw to it that it's outside the protected area.
So yung yung take-off point po ay hindi nasa loob nung fish sanctuary or yung protected area. All right. Sapat na po ba yung distansya nung take-off point doon sa fish sanctuary?
In the future, titingnan natin kung yung locate yung mga project close to the protected area. Yung pag-aaral natin ng environment.
They're not so familiar yet, but rest assured that in the future, they will study that the project will be far enough not to destroy the protected area. That's the assurance from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources.
Salamat, Madam Chair, Mr. President. Pero isasama ko na rin po sa questions ko in writing yung tanong na iyon about this particular project or take-off point, specifically take-off point of this project para lang masiguro ng department na it is at present far enough. Dahil habang hindi pa nagagawa ang isang possible harm, maigi na pong wag na nating gawin. Mag-adjust po tayo para hindi na gawin bukod sa pagsigurado na sa hinaharap hindi natin gagawin ang mga iyon. Also, Mr. President, Madam Chair, what is the status of Paradise Reef itself? Doon naman po sa, ano pong status ng reef? Doon naman po sa landing point.
Ano yung Paradise Reef? Hindi ko naman alam na Samal Island.
It's a small the bridge. It's not there. So,
Pero so walang laman.
pag committee ako report.
Ayun, wala sa laman.
Safe. I can assure her
Yes,
that the Paradise
so for name condition, but the maintenance of the project assured that we will continue to. Pero it's not exactly the same.
Yeah. Ano pangalan ng Paradise?
Paradise.
The project is not in the Paradise Reef ba yun?
Paradise Reef po.
Yeah. But they said that the condition of the, what do you call this? The reef there is not good. But the project proponents said that they will take care of that. They will try to improve the condition of the reef in the place where you are very concerned about. But the project is not there. But the condition of the reef is bad. So it's they promise that they will improve the condition of the reef in that area.
Salamat, Madam Chair, Mr. President, at para din dun sa assurance ng project proponent. However, I must make of record na nakakagulat yung sinabi ng DENR na the condition of Paradise Reef is not good or is even bad. Dahil for one, si marine biologist Dr. John Michael Lacson has described Paradise Reef as a reef like no other, as it was still at its healthiest stage. So baka ibang reef po yung tinutukoy ng DENR.
Paradise. So that's why. So the mitigations.
It's specific.
The DNR said that the landing area is not in the Paradise Reef. Paradise Reef is very big,
Yes.
and not all condition of the reef is bad in the Paradise Reef, only in the area near the project. So the proponent of the project promised that that area they will try to improve, diba? But the whole reef is not in bad condition.
Yes.
It's just the reef near the project.
I see, Madam Chair, Mr. President. And well, usually, yes, Madam Chair.
And our secretary of DNR said that when she received your letter,
No.
she spoke with Dr. Lacson.
Okay.
And they have talked about it. And she will try to take the suggestions of Dr. Lacson with regards to the Paradise Reef. Okay.
Thank you very much for that, Madam Chair, Mr. President, and to the good secretary. Tulad nung pinag-uusapan kanina na maigi kapag yung iba't ibang government departments work together for common programs or projects. Maganda rin kapag there's that kind of contact and coordination even between government and academe, or for that matter with civil society na kabilang din sa mga stakeholders at advocates dito. So, Mr. President, Madam Chair, what is the procedure? Ano pong procedure sa loob ng DNR para sa listing at delisting bilang isang MPA o vis-a-vis yung Inay Pass?
If you are a legislated protected area, I don't think the DNR can remove you. Diba? It's only the delisting happens but when it's
Parehong din yung process ng pag-listing, pag-declare. Kailangan po mag-undertake ng PASA, no? Assessment, tapos
pero yung legislated, hindi nyo magagalaw yun. It's legislation.
tapos anong PASA, i-determine po kung i-legislate or di-delist.
The delisting happens before you are declared as a legislated protected area. So when there's a bill filed for you to be declared, for the place to be declared as a legislated protected area, they will analyze if it, they will conduct PASA. Ano ba yung PASA?
Protected area assessment.
Protected area assessment to determine if it will be recommended to be a legislated protected area or it will be delisted. So they go through the process through that PASA. Okay?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. President. Kaya ako tinanong dahil nga may ordinance na, I'm sorry, saan na ba yun?
Ilan na?
Merong
Congress 20.
merong PAMBI resolution, and so kailangan may mga prosesong babantayan both on the executive and, as the Madam Chair said, on the legislative side. Dahil kumbaga napaka-special ng listing na ito ng mga MPA sa ilalim ng Inay Pass, at minsan yan ang last line of defense sa mga environmentally critical areas natin.
I just
Yes,
want
Madam Chair.
to inform the good senator that there are 20 bills filed in the House of Representatives declaring areas to be legislated as protected areas. And how
Salamat.
many in the Senate? 7? 7 in the Senate. So we hope that we can do that during this Congress. We
I share
can
the
pass those legislated
Yes.
protected area this Congress.
I share the hope of the good chair, Mr. President, and this representation will work with her to support such bills. For the record, Madam Chair, Mr. President, in connection with the previous this representation's previous question, sabi po kasi ng DENR, oo nga't malaki yung Paradise Reef, pero yung bahagi lang niya na malapit sa project ang in bad condition. Ang malas naman yun pa yung nasa malapit sa project. Na, usually kapag may...
Pakaswerte yun kasi may mag-aalaga.
Ay, tingnan,
Diba?
tingnan po
Oh.
natin, Madam
May
Chair. Baka
proponent.
kailanganin ng gabay ng DENR and yung proactive measures ngayon pa lamang. Dahil usually, commonsensically, sasabihin ko sana kanina, anecdotally, commonsensically, kapag mas malapit sa isang malaking proyekto, mas may probability na lumala ang kondisyon ng isang ecosystem tulad ng reef. Mas maigi kung mas malayo. Which is also behind my questions, Madam Chair. Mr. President, as a mitigation measure, it was mentioned that silt curtains will be used to protect affected marine ecosystems from the silt stirred up by the project. Ano po yung efficiency ng mga silt curtains sa pagpipigil na yung silt ay makadamage sa bahura, sa corals? I've heard they are 40% efficient. Accurate po ba yon? At kung accurate, katanggap-tanggap po ba ito sa DENR sa isang mukhang environmentally critical area?
DPWs po.
O range, wala? Wala kayong idea.
DPWs ang project po.
Ms. Senator, the silt curtain is a project of the DPWH.
Yes.
So it's the DPWH who can answer that question. Maybe we should write the DPWH. What is the effectivity of the silt curtain? They don't have any idea on the effectivity of the silt curtain.
Will do, Madam Chair. And salamat, Mr. President. Pero kung pagkasulat ko po sa DPWH, pag ma-confirm po nila na 40% efficient ang silt curtains sa pagpipigil ng silt na makadamage sa corals, kung accurate yon, magiging katanggap-tanggap na ba yon sa DENR?
40% lang. According to the Secretary of DNR, any damage to the coral reef is not acceptable to the DNR.
Yes.
So after they talk with DPWH, they will design a mitigation program so that we can increase the effectivity of the silt curtain.
Salamat, Madam Chair, Mr. President, and to the DNR Secretary. Lalo na po sa ganyang prinsipyo ng anumang percentage ng damage ay hindi acceptable. And I would just like to encourage na aside from on the mitigation side, na usually yun ay adjustment on the part of the ecosystems at yung protector ng ecosystem, pangunahin ng DENR, pwede rin pong ang adjustment ay on the side ng proponent or ng proyekto mismo para in a way meeting halfway din. So for my last question, Mr. President, Madam Chair, ayun na nga po. So, paano naman yung naiiwang 60% ng silt na makikick up? Kakayanin ba nating i-translocate yung mga coral, yung mga giant clams? Baka yung giant clams, posible pa ng ilan, no? Massive diver operation. Pero yung reef, yung corals.
Okay yan. Keep that advocacy up. That's a good legacy advocacy.
Coral buds. So, the DNR said that it's very difficult to do it 100%, but you can improve the coral reef by building coral bud around bud. It's BUD. Okay, BUD. around the area to enhance the coral reef. So it's a very sophisticated system, but it can be done.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Mr. President, and again to the DENR Secretary. Siguro nga dahil alam nating lahat kung na napakahirap itong gawin, again, bukod sa adjustment on this side, yung magiging location ng proyekto, pati yung effort sa isang, sabi nyo nga po, very sophisticated process of building coral buds. Ngayon ko rin lang narinig. Pag upo ko mamaya, i-google ko na napaka-interesanting pakinggan. Siguro naman dapat ay di lang DNR pero DPWH. Pwede din nilang isipin kung mayroon bang mga adjustment na pwede at kayang gawin. Actually naman po, Madam Chair, Mr. President, itinanong ko rin po sa DPWH kahapon. So just for my brief manifestation to close this interpellation, Mr. President, Madam Chair, these are why I filed a Rights of Nature bill. Because I believe that natural ecosystems themselves, populations, and processes have the right to exist to the maintenance of the vital cycles, functions, and processes that ensure their continued sustainability and well-being to the conditions necessary for their renewal and restoration. As I mentioned, yes, Madam Chair.
Ms. Senator, the DNR said there is a successful program of reef buds that has been done in the Philippines in Bolinao, Pangasinan, done by the UP Marine Science Institute. So we have hope that we can do this in other places.
I would share that hope, Madam Chair, Mr. President. It's always good to have our best practices models. Kumbaga, may proof of concept itong coral buds. Of course, palagay ko sa Bolinao, walang ganyang kalaking proyekto na katabi nung kinoral bud tulad sa mga planong gawin dito sa Paradise Reef. But I will, with the Madam Chair, Mr. President, I will take hope where I can find it. Pero let's also ask the other department to exert more effort from their end. And as I mentioned previously, I am not against the economic development of the Davao City Samal Island area. However, as called for by environmental advocates involved with the issue, sabi po nila, build the bridge but protect the reef. This is the position of stakeholders from Davao. The former president of Ateneo de Davao University, Father Joel Tabora SJ, has gone on record as urging the government to realign the bridge so as not to damage Paradise Reef. At na-share ko na rin po kanina yung sinabi ni Dr. Lacson, reef like no other, baka nabanggit din nila kay SEC nung mabutit sila'y nag-usap. So in closing, Madam Chair, Mr. President, I would simply like to re-echo their sentiments. Let's build the bridge, but let's do everything we can to save the reef. Let's save the reef. Marami pong salamat, Madam Chair, to the DNR family, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Senator. We share your advocacy and we will try to do as much as we can to protect the environment.
Thank you, Senator Risa. Mr. President, next to interpellate is our Senate President Pro Tempore, Senator Loren Legarda.
We recognize the distinguished Senate President Pro Tempore, Senator Loren Legarda, to interpolate the budget.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Yes, sir. There.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. With the distinguished Senator, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Environment, and co-eco warrior, and whose home is one of the wetlands designated under the ENIPAS, with this representation authored and sponsored by her 4 years ago, yield to some questions to enlighten us and to help the budget.
Of course, my fellow eco warrior with our whole heart, we will answer all your questions.
Body, heart, and soul. I always, for the past years, if not decades, have supported the budget of the DNR, one of the agencies closest to my heart and my life. So the questions are for my own enlightenment and education, as well as to put on record our concerns, especially amidst our environmental crisis, our climate crisis, our crisis in food security, and the laws that we have authored in the past decades where the DNR is the implementing agency. But first, let me go to a program that I have supported as your chair. And fast forward 2022, we simply want to know, have the taxpayers' money gone to trees grown and forests created? I'm referring to the National Greening Program. I had the honor and the pleasure, maybe displeasure, to fund the NGP. So basic question, Mr. President, from the beginning of the National Greening Program, how much has Congress, the Senate, allocated to this? How many trees have been planted? Are they all native species? In what regions of the country? How many have grown? And what benefit did it give to local communities? What is the percentage of growth of trees planted? If I'm not mistaken, more than 50 billion has been allocated to the NGP since it started in 2012.
Survival rate.
About 120.
B. Senator Estrada is shocked. Yes, I think it's much more than 50B. And we approved this in the past decade, 10 years or more. I'm sure we would have the records.
From 2011, Ms. Majority Floor Leader, the National Greening Program budget from 2011 to 2022 is 55 billion.
So I'm correct, yes.
Okay. And in 2023, it will be 2,342,000,000.
So around 57 billion,
Yes.
Madam Chair,
And,
Mr. President. Yes.
They have planted 2,217. 2,217,182. And hectares. It's 2,217,182 hectares with a seedling of 1,855,298,000, and the survival rate is 78%.
That's a very high survival rate. I wish that was accurate, but I will not question the competence or the fact-checking of the good chair. But honestly, Mr.
That's
President,
their report.
I would like to see the basis for the 78% survival rate, because that was not the answer to me, Mr. President, when I was the chair. So perhaps they improved because of my oversight function. So from 2011 to 2023 budget, or what we're hitting now, 1,855,000,000 seedlings have been planted, and the survival rate, what is 78% of 1.8 billion, have grown. Is that correct, Madam?
Yeah, it's
There.
their report.
It's their report, yes.
It's their report. It says here 2011, 76%, 2012, 76, 2013, 77,
An average of 78. Okay.
77.
That's okay, Madam Chair.
2016, 72, 2017, 79, 2018, 83, 2019, 84. The average